Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, your heart racing, palms sweaty, and you're not sure if it's because you're afraid of falling or because you're excited by the thrill. Now imagine that someone next to you, looking at the exact same view, feels calm, bored even. Same moment, same view, completely different reactions. Why? What's really happening inside our brains and our bodies when we make a choice, feel an emotion, or even start a war? Hello, I am Bharat, and welcome to Audiofybooks, where you will find excellent audio summaries of books in a very easy and interesting way. If you want to learn from new books, do subscribe to the channel. Let's get started with today's book. Today's book is a journey into the depths of human behavior, and I don't mean a casual overview like people are complicated or it depends on your personality. I mean a scientific expedition into the neural, hormonal, evolutionary, and cultural layers that make us who we are, from milliseconds before we act to centuries before we're born. Robert Sapolsky's Behave is not just a book. It's a telescope and a microscope rolled into one. It zooms into the neurons firing in your brain right before you scream in rage or reach out in love. And it zooms out to show how society, history, and biology have sculpted you to do just that. Let's start with the moment just before you do something, say slamming a door in anger. What's happening in that precise second? Your amygdala, the part of your brain wired for fear and aggression, is lighting up. But why is it lighting up? Go back a few seconds. Maybe your brain's reward system, your dopamine network, didn't get what it was expecting. Maybe someone just insulted you, and your frontal cortex, the region responsible for reasoning and self-control, couldn't step in fast enough. Now rewind even further. Maybe your testosterone levels were slightly elevated that day. Maybe you didn't sleep well last night. Maybe your childhood taught you that anger gets results. And so the door slams. But the story behind that slam, it started hours ago, maybe even decades ago. That's the brilliance of Behave. It peels back time like an onion, showing us how every behavior, especially the extreme ones like violence or altruism, is a cocktail of biology and biography. One moment, you're inside the brain of a soldier pulling a trigger. The next, you're inside the hormone levels of a baboon in the wild. And yet it all connects. Take aggression, for example. Most people think it's about anger. But Sapolsky shows us that aggression can come from fear, insecurity, dominance, or even love. A parent fighting to protect their child is just as aggressive as someone starting a bar fight, but with a completely different neurological pathway. And then there's context. The same behavior, a punch, a scream, even a tear, can be heroic or horrific, depending on the story surrounding it. Behavior isn't about what happens. It's about why it happens. And if you think this is all about extreme cases, wars, crimes, riots, think again. Every tiny decision we make, from judging a stranger's face to deciding whom to trust, is influenced by invisible forces we rarely notice. For instance, did you know that judges are more likely to deny parole just before lunch? That's not a character flaw. That's blood sugar and mental fatigue altering decision-making. That's biology at work in the courtroom. Or consider empathy. It feels like a warm, fuzzy emotion, something natural and good. But Sapolsky reveals its dark side. Our brains are wired to empathize more with people who look like us, sound like us, believe like us. It's called in-group bias. And while empathy can inspire kindness, it can also fuel cruelty against outsiders. In some cases, our brains literally deactivate empathy when we see someone from the other group suffering. We don't mean to, but we do. But here's where it gets personal. You're not just a passive machine running on brain circuits and cultural scripts. You have a say. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term thinking and morality, is like the CEO of your mind. It can override knee-jerk reactions. It can rewrite habits. It can say, wait, maybe I shouldn't yell, or maybe I should listen. But it takes energy, it takes awareness, and it takes practice. Sapolsky doesn't stop at the brain, though. And then there's culture. Think about how different societies react to things like shame, loyalty, or forgiveness. What's honorable in one culture might be offensive in another. What's brave in one might be reckless in another. These values shape the very architecture of our brains. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, means we're constantly being molded by the stories we live in. One of the most powerful parts of the book explores morality. You'd think it's about right and wrong, but turns out it's about biology and group dynamics. Sapolsky dives into studies where people make moral judgments while hooked up to brain scanners. The findings? We often decide emotionally first, then justify logically later. So that gut feeling of, this just feels wrong, it's a real, measurable brain event. And it can be manipulated by music, lighting, even smells. But if all this sounds like humans are doomed to be puppets of hormones and history, don't worry. The takeaway isn't hopelessness, it's humility. When we understand the layers behind human behavior, we can become more compassionate. Not just to others, but to ourselves. We realize that the guy who cut us off in traffic might be battling stress hormones, that the teenager acting out might be missing serotonin, that our own moments of guilt, rage, or fear aren't flaws. They're signals, and we can respond to them differently. Behave ultimately offers a deeply human message. The more we understand what drives behavior, the better chance we have at shaping it, not just through willpower, but by changing the environment, nurturing compassion, and building systems that account for how people really function, not how we wish they did. So next time you find yourself puzzled by someone's actions or your own, pause and remember, there's always more to the story. Behind every behavior is a storm of neurons, hormones, memories, and meaning. And understanding that, it's the first step to making the world a little wiser and a lot kinder. If this fascinated you even half as much as it fascinated me, you'll love diving deeper into the full book. And don't forget, there's more like this coming your way. So if you enjoyed today's summary, give it a like, share it with someone curious, and subscribe to Audiofybooks for more beautifully told, science-backed insights that make you think and feel. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most of all, stay human.